Good morrow to you, and welcome to the Baron's News Desk, covering the latest happenings and goings-on in the world of tabletop card gaming. The following information is provided by the internet publication IGN.com. The universe of Magic the Gathering is constantly expanding in new and interesting ways, but I think that few Magic the Gathering players out there expected for it to expand in quite this way. In support of the annual charity event called Extra Life, Wizards of the Coast has created a limited run crossover of Magic the Gathering cards with, oh my goodness, My Little Pony? Wizards of the Coast has created 3 Magic the Gathering cards that feature My Little Pony characters, specifically from the most recent television program of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Since the original television program of My Little Pony in the 1980s, there have been several reboot attempts, but Friendship is Magic is arguably the most successful reboot of the franchise. The main protagonist in this series is Twilight Sparkle, featured as one of the 3 cards. Now, we must immediately take note of the fact that these are silver-bordered cards, similar to the unsets, such as Unhinged and Unglued, thus meaning that they are not legal in the traditional formats. This box set will be sold exclusively for $50 between the dates of October 22nd and November 5th through the website HasbroPulse.com. All of the proceeds will go to benefit the Extra Life charity event. Let's take a closer look at the mechanics of these cards. First is rarity. For 1, a white and a blue, it is a 2/2 legendary creature, Unicorn. Rare and mythic rare spells you cast cost 1 generic less to cast. Pay 1 generic and tap it. Reveal a My Little Pony registered trademark toy you own. Until end of turn, another target creature gains protection from each color in that toy's coat, mane, and outfit. And in this case, I do believe that we should read the flavor text.
I simply cannot let crimes against fabulosity go uncorrected.
Now, this is actually a somewhat playable card. Of course, mana reduction costs in Commander are especially powerful, and reducing the cost of rare and mythic spells is something that could have some significant utility. Even the pay 1 and tap and make another target creature you control gain protection from, let's say, all colors, because you're probably going to pick one of the ponies that has all colors, could also be useful in the Commander format. This card is actually not broken. I mean, there are so many other cards out there that could be so much more powerful, say Karik, son of Yawgmoth, just to pull a recent example out of thin air. I certainly would not fault any Commander player that wanted to use this in a traditional Commander game. The next card is Nightmare Moon. For 4 black, it is a 6/6 legendary creature, Alicorn. It has flying. As long as it's nighttime, Nightmare Moon gets +2/+2 and has menace. Pay 6 generic mana. Transform Nightmare Moon. Any pony may activate this ability or help pay the cost. When they do, they become your friend. Transformed, she becomes Princess Luna. She's a 4/4 and has flying. When this creature transforms into Princess Luna, choose up to 6 cards you own from outside the game with a moon in their art. Then exile those cards. As long as those cards remain exiled, you may cast them, and your friends may cast them with your permission. Now, this certainly more resembles one of the uncards more than rarity. First, it's only powerful at a certain time of day after the sun has set. Then it goes on to reference cards that you own outside of the game. Now, traditionally in Magic, when you have this type of text, it is referring to typically cards that you have in your sideboard, which, of course, you're not going to have in Commander. Then you could also take it literally, where you could say you could get any cards that you have with a moon in it outside of the game, and that could be rather interesting for you and your opponents to pull from the same pool. But it's still a mechanic that is a bit far-fetched and outside of the traditional realm of legal Commander cards. And finally, we circle back around to Princess Twilight Sparkle. For a white and a blue, she's a 2/2 legendary creature, Alicorn. She has flying. Other Alicorns, horses, Pegasi, ponies, and unicorns you control get +1/+1. Pay white, blue, black, red, green. If you control Applejack, Fluttershy, Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, and Rarity, every pony wins the game. While she certainly has the most fantastical text of these three ponies, it's also an ability that, quite frankly, cannot be done. Unlike Rarity's ability, she's not referencing the actual toys, therefore we must assume that she's referencing the other cards which do not actually exist. Speaking of which,
Friendship isn't always easy, but there's no doubt it's worth fighting for.
however, this card did get me thinking. It got the creative juices brewing, and it had me wondering how many legal cards out there in the tribes of the horses, Pegasi, and unicorns are in the Magic the Gathering ethos that could be used with this card if it was your commander. Some of the best horses that exist for the commander format include Diamond Mare, Shield Mare, and, quite possibly the best, Crested Sun Mare. For 3 white, it is a 5/5 creature horse. Other horses you control have Indestructible. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token. Why, having life gain as a sub-theme of this deck would certainly ensure that you have some extra creatures to go wide with your attacks. Now let's have a look at some of those mythical unicorns. Ronom Unicorn can double as some much-needed instant speed enchantment removal. Inspiring Unicorn will give us an additional anthem effect to additionally pump our 4-hoofed friends. But what is possibly the best unicorn is the Loyal Unicorn. For 3 and a white, it's a 3/4 unicorn with Vigilance. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to creatures you control this turn. Other creatures you control gain Vigilance until end of turn. And let's look at the third category of creature that is referenced by Princess Twilight Sparkle that currently exists in the Magic the Gathering universe. Pegasi. Boreas Charger can potentially give us some land ramp in the colors of white and blue, which already don't have much land ramp, so this is much needed indeed. Trusted Pegasus can grant other creatures flying, granting our horses and unicorns that currently don't have the ability to fly to rise above the clouds with their other friends. And because we're playing such a heavily tribal creature deck, Vryn Wingmare will certainly make it a bit more difficult for us to cast spells, but should likely harm our opponents much more than us. There are even creatures that could be all 3 of these types at once, commonly referred to as shapeshifters or changelings. First is Metallic Mimic. For 2 generic mana, it's a 2/1 artifact creature shapeshifter. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Metallic Mimic is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Each other creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Next is Valiant Changeling. For 5 white, it is a 3/3 creature shapeshifter. This spell costs 1 generic less to cast for each creature type among creatures you control. This effect can't reduce the amount of mana this spell costs by more than 5. It is a changeling and has double strike. Considering that we are playing at least 3 base creature types, and that our commander is an Alicorn, a 4th creature type, it is likely that this spell is only going to cost us 1 white at the most. And perhaps the most devastating is Mirror Entity. For 2 and a white, it is a 1/1 creature shapeshifter. It is a changeling. Pay X generic mana. Until end of turn, creatures you control have base power and toughness XX and gain all creature types. This can absolutely be one of the big finishers of the deck. Then there's the enchantment of Sacred Mesa, which over time can potentially put many Pegasus tokens on the board. But if you want maximum Pegasi in a single blow, then go for the sorcery Storm Herd. It costs 8 generic white. Create X 1/1 white Pegasus creature tokens with flying where X is your life total. Now this certainly would not be a tier 1 or even tier 2 deck, maybe not even tier 3, but it is quite decisively a flavor win. What are your thoughts, commoners? Are there any cards that you would add for a Princess Twilight Sparkle commander deck? Do you believe that Rarity or Nightmare Moon would make good commanders, and what cards do you think would be the auto-includes for those decks? Be sure to like and subscribe,
and view many of my entertaining and informative videos here on Aristocards. Until next time, cheers!